Hi, everybody. I'm uploading several short videos on different things today. So here is another one. Um, how to create artifacts when you didn't set out to do that. Like, what do you mean? You're making your adventure, you want an artifact in there, of course you pre create it. Well, maybe, sure. But you can have things happen in a game or from a previous game or even many games ago. That like it's a totally different campaign, but you think back to like something that happened. And I'm going to give you an example of something that happened. And it is a relic, an artifact in it's going to be in one of my fantasy settings. Think I may be sticking it in our Dune, even though it comes from a D&D setting. So, when I was a little kid, learning to play D&D, in our infinite wisdom, based on the D&D books that we had, my cousin who introduced us to D&D, I do believe we ended up in the Temple of Frog. Uh, we really weren't prepared for that. Okay. Long story short, I don't remember us doing very well. However, in the course of the adventure, there were giant frogs. And all the shenanigans aside, at some point, we decided to cook giant frog legs because you can eat frog legs, right? Butter, garlic, little wine, it's all good. So we were, me and my other cousin, his sister, so that's two girl players and one male DM, um, we were cooking this for dinner because we'd run out of rations, having killed a giant frog, and we got attacked. Now, we were around the campfire cooking giant frog leg, roasting a giant frog leg. So we did not have anything handy to defend ourselves with immediately, um, except for the giant frog leg. And one of us, somebody screamed a ligety, which was a made-up word because that's what little kids do. You make words up. You make things up. This is why D&D was awesome to us. And thus was born the frog leg of a ligety. And it became my character. I don't even remember like what race my character was or like even what class it was. But I had this giant frog leg. And I went along in pursuant adventures with my giant frog leg, bludgeoning things to death with the frog leg of a ligety, and I would scream a ligety, and it was just an ongoing, in-game joke, really for us kids. But fast forward now, I'm thinking about back then and some of the crazy stuff that you do as kids, and you're not very good rule lawyers as kids. Okay, it really is about having fun, and how we weren't daunted by problems in the rules or how confusing the rules were. We just made it work somehow. Okay, and then as we got older and advanced D&D came out, and we had it all. Better explained basic rules came out. All that stuff got added in to what we were doing, and then we had more friends who could play. And so, my cousin and we took turns DMing. My cousins weren't always in the game. I wasn't always in the game, and we all had our own little play groups. So yeah. And then we get together though every now and then, family thing, and then we go kill something and get some treasure. So, but we did so at increasing levels of maturity, and thus also increasing levels of our understanding of the rules and putting those game mechanics to work. So, there's some advice here. If you have a fond memory of something and you want to pull it forward, like 30 years later, go for it. but figure out how to put into a game as like an artifact and whoop it up. So the frog bone of a Ligety, the bone of a Ligety, is going to become this mysterious artifact in a future game. And I'm going to give it some cool abilities and stuff like that. So that's my first thought. Go ahead and pull on that old stuff. And that can apply to any game, GURPS, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just think back, to something cool. It could have been that really terrible rusty battle axe that your character had to use in some previous adventure. Well, take that rusty battle axe, flash forward it, attach some cool, crazy, out of proportion story to it, and you have an artifact. Even if it's not plus anything. It becomes about the lore of the thing. It becomes the mystery of, for in my case, who was a Ligety? Hundreds of years forward, in game time, in your imagination, what kind of myths could have grown up around somebody just having to use a giant frog leg as a weapon and then keeping it as a weapon and screaming a word. So there's that. Now, I've been going over the Book of Artifacts for a while now, and we're working on it. We're getting there. We really are. Eventually, we will make it to the Rings of Power. And there's a lot of cool ideas in there, and I'm hoping that if anybody's watching those, that it's sparking imaginations. In original D&D, there is like a how to create magical sword page in one of the pamphlets. And it's got all these rules. Those rules are helpful in that they help you create a magic sword, obviously, but they also can help you create any other kind of magical item. And I'm probably going to have to try to pull those out. And I don't have the original pamphlets, but I think I have a PDF of those rules. And go over them with y'all. But what I'm getting at is when you have a weapon, like a player finds something, you can let that weapon grow. You can let it unfold. So they figure out, let's say it's a +1 sword. It could be a wand that does something. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is. That's how it starts. But as the player gains experience, as the player does certain things, you can have the weapon slowly, or the shield, or whatever it is, slowly develop new little quirks, new little tiny abilities where it's unveiling itself. It can be little minor things, but it makes that thing way more interesting, way more valuable to the player, actual player, and then the player character that they're playing, because they don't know what's going to happen next. It keeps it mysterious. It keeps it exciting. You don't have to actually have a billion magical things throughout your campaign. That +1 dagger, ring that does something, whatever it does, can become incrementally more powerful as the player character becomes more powerful. Like, or as the player character does certain things. And it slowly unfolds its true ultimate form. And you don't have to come up with everything at once either. TMs. You can let it evolve as the player character evolves. And that is a really, really fun role-playing mechanic. that you can do. And then you don't overpower games, but you keep it interesting, which is um, really what you want to do anyway. Like there are people I know, because I watch a lot of different channels, a lot of different people. Some people don't even like each other. I know they don't like each other, but I watch both their channels um, uh, because I find value in the very different points of views that are out on the internet when it comes to things I'm interested in, such as role playing games. Though I don't think there's great controversy over, say, this rather girly thing, embroidery. um, but nonetheless, I will watch a lot other people's material and think about what they've said, and some of them like, yeah, and some of them like, or what are we talking about? I don't know. Maybe I have to watch it again another time and it'll click. We all have those moments too. But I wanted to throw that out there. You can turn any everyday thing into an artifact. Think about it. If you ever watch any of those movies where they talk about finding, there was a movie with a little boy, and they were looking for reincarnated Tibetan priest, monk guy, and it's based on a true story. I can't remember the name of the movie, but ultimately they have these things that they present to the child, like the bowl, toys, and stuff like that. But they had 3 candidates, and all 3 candidates picked out these artifacts, if you will, that are associated with this reincarnated person through the ages. And they figured out that each person represented an aspect of that reincarnated individual's personality. And one was mind, body, and soul. That was mind, body, and soul is what each of these kids represented. Good RPG thing there for you people, too. But the items were these artifacts. They weren't magical. They weren't, ancient religious relics or anything like. They were, and they weren't snazzy things. They were like a little wood bowl, or some beads. To anybody else, they were just junk, but to the monks involved in the search, they were very, very important. Artifacts don't have to be golden chalices. They don't have to be expensive. They don't have to be magical. They have to have a purpose and a meaning and a symbology to other people. And that's what makes them important in a game, more than whether they're pluses or glow in the dark or whatever. So think about it. You have different categories that artifacts fall into, and what makes them significant. It can be because of the things they do, or it can be for other reasons, completely not related to game mechanics, but more related to storytelling and role playing, and they can cross over. So that was my thought on creating artifacts for your games. And of course there's things where, just like in real life, they dig up some clay broken tablet, and that's an artifact, and it might be worth a lot of money even though nobody can translate it. And grave robbers are selling these things. So it is something to think about how you approach artifacts. But yeah, you can take something very simple that becomes attached to a player character for whatever reason, and then later turn that into an artifact that maybe it does some fancy stuff, or maybe it's just a legendary weapon because it was a or piece of armor, whatever, or wand, because it was associated with the deeds of this character, whether it's a player character or an NPC. And that is why everybody is looking for it, because it's like a status thing, and maybe they think it does a bunch more stuff that it never did as well. Um, and then it's up to you if if you let it do that or not. So I'm throwing that out at you because I've been thinking about that legendary frog leg that my first player character, which I can't even remember, was a girl. Probably was a half elf, if I know me. I probably played a half elf. Back then, I played elves and half elves a lot. Um, uh, that I don't even remember the character's name, to be honest with you. It's that long ago. But I remember the fun I had, and that's the important part. And I remember the fun we had with this giant frog leg, and my cousin decided to let it be a fairly deadly weapon, and I just had a blast killing things with that frog boat, as long as I played that character until she died. So I just wanted to put that out there. Have fun, and go ahead and draw on the fun from the past. Go ahead and even if you don't have something, brainstorm what ifs. Brainstorm based on dungeons and things players have done and when you've run them through adventures and they've had to improvise weapons, whether they kept that thing. Maybe they didn't, but they used it enough that, if their story made it into the folklore of the kingdom, go ahead and draw on that stuff and then recycle it, because it's there. It's there, ready to be recycled in some shape or form. And then put it out. And then people will be like, so the battle axe of the hero Timitim was lost in the caverns of Woe? Aren't the caverns of Woe near here? Because you can just have some guy telling a story in the local tavern, and then your current players may decide that they want to go to the caverns of Woe and find this cool battle axe, which is this rusty, broken thing on some level of the dungeon, But let them find it eventually, and then from there, you can decide what shape it's actually going to be in. But you guys get my point. So I hope that was just a fun little thought to throw out at you guys. Not associated with playlists or anything, just some ideas on making artifacts. But I do need to pull up the information and read it off to you, what those original sword making rules were, because they really clue you in on if you let your imaginations open up on ideas for making magical things. They really do. So I'll do that. I'll see about getting that up and researched this week and out. So everybody have a good Monday. I got to get some stuff done. Lunch break's going to end, and I got to go to work. And I do work at a pretty good place. I'm blessed and very thankful to have this job and to have had it as long as I've had through everything that has happened over many years. And I am extremely blessed. It has been a good thing. So I just got to stay gainfully employed, people. I got to go work. So bye, everybody. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. You know the drill. Find that little bell. And watch lots of other people. I'll have to do a list of people that I find interesting and start putting up why I find them interesting. And don't just subscribe to people that always say what you want to hear. Subscribe to people that tell you things you don't want to hear too. It's good for your brain. It's good for character building. And sometimes it's good to reflect on maybe they're making some good points and it's just hitting home a little too much. And that's okay too. We're all trying to do the same thing. Have a good role-playing game experience. So cut each other some slack. And have fun today. Figure out a way to have fun. Bye.